All right, let's take a look at where we left off. We have our window here, and let's go ahead and hit Shift and H to hide everything but our window. And if you need to bring individual elements back up in the right-hand corner in Scene Collection, you could always just unhide it. So we have our windows low or and other elements for our house. We also have Control H or Option H rather, and that brings everything back. And then again, if you select just the window and you hit Shift H, um, you can just focus on something. Remember, Shift H, focus on one thing. Alt H brings everything back, or Option H. Or if you want to individually hide onto elements, you could hit H on those elements. So let's go ahead and just select our window for now. Hit Shift and H just to take a look at what we did last time. So we began the process of modeling our window. And we added a little bit of a bevel on each side by simply selecting this face, this inside face. I'm going to kind of show you again by going to edit mode and going up to face mode, just selecting this face here. And what we did is we essentially scaled it in a little bit. And then what we did is we expanded it by hitting L to scale them up and then just kind of made it a little bit bigger for visibility. And what we were doing is we're trying to emulate our reference. So let me go ahead and bring up our reference. So here we have our essentially our reference inside PureRef. What I'd like to do is just even so we've kind of left the gray boxing stage, and this particular phase we're now where we're doing flat colors for modeling and texturing is still kind of entering the prototype phase in the sense where we're just trying to give our art director and any kind of potential buyers into our video game an idea of what the look and feel for our game would be. You don't want to go too far at this phase in the cycle of creating like super high fidelity textures or anything, um, in the prototyping phase of a model, right? From coming from Graybox, because you're still looking for approval. We are going to get to that phase regardless, because this pitch is more for us. It's a personal project or passion project for learning, right? So let's take a look at how we can create a really rough and quick uh, uh, painted version of this model, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just do object mode again. Let's make sure that I pin my reference. So let's bring that back. All right, so I clicked on this little guy and it's going to stay on top now. Sometimes even if you do that where you you might have to like click it on and off in order to get it to stay on top if you're on a Mac. On the PC, it's pretty good about staying on top. All right, so we've got our window here. And what I want to do again is let's just block out some colors. So the first thing we have to do is a process called UVing. And what that is we're going to create a two-dimensional representation of this model so that we can paint on it. So let's go up to our UV editor here. And because this is our high res that we're going to use as sort of baking, and there's going to be a second video that accompanies this that goes through all of the vocabulary. Maybe I'll use a character or something just to show you, what baking means, and again, we're actually going to do the process in this video, but we'll do more of a theory one beforehand that you can watch before or after this to help really solidify what the terms that connect to it, right? So like we have high resolution, which refers to the model with a lot more geometry, right? Which is what we see here. And then we have a low, which we called window low earlier. And that's this guy right here. So I'll just hit G. Actually, we're in edit mode. So let's select our window low here. And this model, we want to do our best to get it for performance reasons to look exactly like the high. And you might be still confused, like, how am I going to do that with just the plane? And you'll see that in a second. So let me hide this for a second. Let's go back to our high window here. And I'm going to tab edit here so that we can actually edit it. So for my high resolution model, what I'd like to do is do this process called unwrapping, right? And what this will do, like I said, is it'll create a two-dimensional version over here of this model that we can paint on. So what I'd like to do is let's just hit A to select all of it and then press the U like unicorn key and hit unwrap angle based and see what it gives us. So right off the bat, it starts to show us like these are the different parts that break up our cube, right? And part of the issue here is the back of our cube. I'm going to go ahead and hit the period key on my keyboard. Is still there. So this is the back part that you never see. And to clean up our model, and maybe even for making a better unwrap, I want to kind of delete all the pieces that you're not going to see. Like you won't see any of these side pieces here, right? You're not going to see the top, any of these top pieces. So let's just go in here and, just go through each one and just sort of delete these tops. So I'm going to hit X and then select for delete faces. And because I'm on a Mac, you could probably just do it on a PC where you just hit the delete key. It kind of, there's an extra step to each one. So I'm just going to speed up the process and just go around here and select all of these sides. And I'm just going to hit X and then delete. Let's see, delete and then faces. And that got rid of those faces. And I'm going to bring this face forward a little bit, maybe down a little bit, just to kind of give it a little more view. And then what I want to do is select all these back sides. I'm just holding Shift and selecting each one of these. So I don't want to lose these. So let's do this again. So I want to select, let's see, how can I get to that? This. So is it really just this? Yeah, there's that one. And then it's this one. There we go. And I'm just going to hit X and delete those faces. And is there anything else I am missing? And now you're going to see a very different model. So if I, for example, hit L to select this one, hit U and then unwrap angle base, now you see we get something that looks a little bit more like the reference, right? And also, why do we have this face here? What is this face representing? So we deleted that. Did I forget this one? Yeah, it looks like that's the problem. So let's go ahead and delete that face. And then let's go ahead and just, I'm going to unwrap that. And then there we go. That looks a little bit more. See how much cleaner, and it looks just like the reference. So I'm going to hit L on this one. And I'm just going to hit Shift R. It doesn't look like it remembered my last action. Shift R remembers last action. It looks like the same thing. I might have not. Yes, it looks like these two I actually forgot to delete the back face. So let's try that one more time. Unwrap angled face. And then in here, I'm just going to hit G, shift it over a little bit. And actually, I could just hit L on all three of these, hit U, and then unwrap angle base, and it'll select all of them. And I can grab my move tool here. Just kind of move this over to the side. And I honestly don't really care about this second window yet. I'm going to actually just make one side and then duplicate it. So for this other window that's on this side, I'm actually going to delete that. Let's see if I could just, let me just hit X and delete that face. So we're only looking at half the window now. And like I said, later, I'll work on making it over. And again, a lot of it's going to seem like word salad until we're done. So I'll select this face, hit U, unwrap, shift this over to the side. And because this is just going to be for texturing purposes, and I'm going to use a flat color for this, I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller here. All right, so now I have all these pieces unwrapped, right? I have a two-dimensional representation of each one of these here. How do I go about texturing it so that we get some flat colors that resemble this, right? Well, that's where we go to texture painting. And so you'll see here, they kind of have it all laid out here, right? You would model something out, and then you would sculpt something that's high res, and then you'd unwrap it, and then you would texture paint it. So let's jump over to the next thing, which is texture painting here. And you could see that our model is pink. And so with that, what we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves, well, why is this pink? Like, what's the reason for that? And the issue is that, I'm going to go to layout mode here for a second, is it's missing the material, right? It's missing a material, and that's why it doesn't have a texture paint here. So let's go to layout, make sure this is selected, make sure you're in object mode, right? Here. And with that selected, I want you to go on to material here. And it looks like we have a beach house assets, which is for the window low. No, that's actually supposed to be for this. So I'm actually going to get rid of this. And this actually, we could leave this. So we could name this, I'm going to copy this, beach house assets underscore high. And that's going to be how we're going to texture paint this. And then this one right here, we'll create a material for it. And we'll call this beach house assets underscore low. And for the high, which has the beach house assets underscore high texture, we want to, in this base color, use an image that we can paint on. This is something that we can save off and use as a texture. So where this little yellow dot is, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to go down to image texture, and I'm going to click new, and I'm going to go pretty big here. I'm going to go 2048, even though the colors are going to be essentially flat. And I'm just going to name this just beach house assets underscore high. This is just our texture name. And I'm going to hit new image. Now, if I hit Z and I go to material preview, you're going to see it's completely black. And that's because the texture that's on here is black. You see that? Because of what we just made. Now what we can do is we can go inside of here and be like, well, what am I painting here? Like where does the, uh, you know, what is, yeah, let me go to object mode. Let me go back to layout here, make sure this is selected. I'm gonna hit the period key on my keyboard. Sorry, let's go back to texture paint. Now what we can do is inside here is like, well, what am I painting, right? Well, let's start off with just getting a color that matches this sort of yellow here. So if I click on this and I click my eyedropper, oh, it looks like I can't eyedrop this folder. I think you guys on PC can actually select your eyedropper and then actually go into another app. With this one, it just kind of clicks off. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and get this mustard yellow color. So I'm going to click on here. I'm going to move this over, move this all the way up, and just try to find a yellow that I like, and then bring this down a little bit until I can find sort of a similar mustard color. I could sample this in Photoshop or Photopea, and I'm going to go show you how to manipulate in Photopea too. Um, I think that's kind of a good idea. Let's kind of bring this up a little bit, give ourselves a little bit more of a highlight. All right. Now what I can do is I can bring my brush size down. You can do that by also hitting the brackets. And as I paint, you'll notice it updates here. And also, let me go ahead and save this image. And I'll just, for now, let's see. I think we made a folder called, in my documents, called Beach House, I believe. So I went ahead and made a folder called Beach House. And then later, our low res one, we're going to actually put it inside of our Unreal. But for now, we just need one to save off. So I'm going to save this image. And so as we're painting through, you can see it's updating here, right? And so something also that we need to do is, because it's making it pretty hard for us to see. Here, let's bring that back up. Is essentially our wireframe, right? So remember I was talking about that 2D representation. So up in the right-hand corner here, there's show overlays. You'll see there's a geometry. Make sure this is ticked on, and you could turn on faces to give yourself like a little bit of a highlight. But what I generally do is I'll bring edges up a good amount. And now you could see I can paint on the individual ones, right? And that's what I mean by the 2D representation. This is that unwrapped version, right? So I know this whole section here is really going to be this yellow thing, right? So I'll just crank up my brush size and I'll just go through like this and just sort of paint that all like that. And I got a little bit of yellow paint there. I'm being a little sloppy. And like I said, I'm sort of prototyping at this point. And then I'm just going to go in here and give this window. I mean, really, it should be a lot lighter here. So something like that. And I'll just kind of go in here and, and there's also these other types of brushes if you have your tablet, and it'll give you different results. Like if you're painting with a tablet. I don't have mine plugged in. I'm also going to hold shift and just kind of click across and see if I can get a straight line. And I may have put these a little bit too close to each other. So let's grab this yellow so I can clean that up and then just kind of just dot that line. And I'm just holding my, my middle mouse to move. Just kind of getting close. So this is kind of, I'm assuming, like an introduction to texture painting for you. And I'm going to show you a neat way to make it look more three-dimensional on your low res version. So let's go in here. Let's grab this. Let's clean that up a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and save this image. Beach House Asset High. Let's hit overwrite there. And then I'm going to go back to layout here. And let's go ahead and hit Option H so you can kind of see like, oh, all right, cool. We're slowly getting there, right? We're slowly texture painting this. And the window is made of wood. This is all made of wood. And actually, this is a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do is hit Tab for edit mode. And I'm just going to pull that front face out. Because I'm trying to stay on model, which is a term that they use for saying that you're trying to stay as close to texture as possible. And it's okay if I go a little bit because we're missing our wood trim there, which we could add now if we want. And I could select that front face and then grab this and, it's on cube mode and just drag out a cube here. And then grab my move tool, hit Shift D and just move it down. I hit Escape to deselect it. All right, so what we're gonna do in the next video is I'm gonna show you a couple things. How to do our, take our window here. So let's make sure we save this. And our window low, these two. And I'm gonna show you how to take your window low and make it look almost exactly like your window high here.